The Nancy Drew series started with a trilogy of books released in April 1930. Unlike the video game, this book contains no mini-golf challenges, pie sorting, or tedious delivery quests. I want to give this book a perfect 10 out of 10 just for that.
Argo Funk Book Review, Argo Funk Book Review.
Nancy Drew is 16 and blonde in the original books. She didn't get changed into an 18-year-old redhead until the rewrites about 30 years later. Things start with Nancy complaining to her father about the Topham family. The Tophams recently inherited a lot of money from a relative named Josiah Crowley. Now the Tophams are richer and meaner than ever. There's a rumor that Josiah wrote a second will, which leaves the Tophams with nothing. Nancy sincerely hopes the rumor is true. I'm probably making Nancy sound petty and spiteful, but the Tophams are pretty awful. While shopping, Nancy runs into Ada and Isabel Topham, who are a little older than her. The girls throw a fit because they demand to be served immediately. It doesn't matter that other people were waiting first. We're rich, so we deserve to be the top priority. While driving home, Nancy is caught in a storm. She's forced to take shelter in the nearest barn, which belongs to the Horner sisters. Allie and Grace are very poor and very nice. They're the ones who should have gotten Josiah's money. Meeting them only makes Nancy more determined to solve the mystery. Nancy has another run-in with the Topham girls. This time they break a $50 bowl, and they falsely accuse a sales clerk of breaking it. Nancy spies on the Tophams in the park. Their conversation confirms that Josiah wrote a second will. Nancy makes a point of visiting everybody else who should have inherited Josiah's money. One of them is elderly Abigail Rowan. She's fallen and she can't get up. It seems like if Nancy had not come along, Abigail would have died in a few hours. Nancy helps nurse Abigail back to health. The chiming of a clock jogs Abigail's memory. She remembers that Josiah hid a secret notebook inside a clock. Nancy sells charity tickets as an excuse to get inside the Topham house. She uses smart questioning to trick the Tophams into revealing that Josiah's clock is inside their bungalow at Moon Lake. The Tophams are incredibly rude during this scene, except for the father, Mr. Topham. He gives a sizable donation to Nancy's charity. This surprised me because he's a huge jerk in the video game version. Why did the game take the one nice person of the family and turn him into the worst person? The book would be over a lot sooner if Nancy went directly to the bungalow to get the clock. She's delayed for a few chapters when she goes to Camp Avondale with her best friend Helen. Nancy, why are you taking a camping break in the middle of an adventure? The chapter is called An Adventure, too. It's not very adventurous when she goes out on the boat. Eventually, Nancy goes to the Topham bungalow. She arrives while the house is being ransacked by thieves. She tries hiding from them, but she's caught. They lock her in a closet, leaving her to starve. This is followed by a racist chapter, where Nancy is rescued by a Negro caretaker named Jeff Tucker. Jeff is supposed to be a comedy relief character. He talks with a heavy phonetic accent. He's drunk, so he says a lot of nonsensical things. Nancy's pretty rude to him. Jeff explains he normally guards the bungalow, but he eagerly left his post when the thieves offered him free beer. Nancy goes to the police. They split up to search for the criminals. She finds the villains at a seedy inn, quote, engaged in a drinking orgy, end quote. I'm a little disturbed that 16-year-old Nancy found this place so easily. Also, I should note that alcohol was illegal when the book was written, so all this alcohol stuff makes the villains extra bad. Nancy has no problems committing crimes herself, so she breaks into the culprit's van and steals Josiah's clock. The culprits almost catch her. She rushes to get the police again. The criminals are arrested after a car chase and gunfight. Nancy examines Josiah's clock. Sure enough, it has a secret notebook inside. The notebook leads to a bank security box, which has Josiah's will. As Nancy hoped, the will gives all of Josiah's money to the nice people who deserve it. The Tophams go bankrupt, and the Horners let Nancy keep the old clock as a souvenir of her first mystery. The end. Postbook follow-up. This is a pretty good book, but the pacing is a bit slow in places. I could see people arguing that several of the chapters with the Horners should be combined. Same for the chapters which are just Nancy talking to her father. But you know what? I really like those chapters. Maybe it's because I'm a dad. I found Carson Drew to be an interesting character. He supports and encourages Nancy in her detective work, and he doesn't interfere, even though it's dangerous. Plus, he celebrated Nancy's 16th birthday by buying her a fancy car that's faster than the car the police have. Best dad ever! The camping chapters are fairly unimportant, but they're not a total waste. They do build up suspense for the bungalow section. Nancy going up against a group of thieves is the most exciting part of the book. But my cynical side suspects that storyline was introduced in order to delay Nancy from finding the clock for another 7 chapters. It makes sense that the rewrite introduces the thieves closer to the start instead of first introducing them in the final third. The only part of the book that I actively disliked was the part with Jeff Tucker. The rewrite changes Jeff into a white person. Yes, that gets rid of the racist elements, but it also gets rid of the only black character in the book, which is not great. It would have been pretty easy to leave Jeff as a black man who helps Nancy stop the thieves. I wonder why the rewrite did not take that option. All in all, The Secret of the Old Clock is an okay mystery. It takes longer than necessary to get started, but the second half is extremely solid. And of course, everybody loves this book because it was the start of a fantastic series. I give the 1930 edition of Nancy Drew #1, Secret of the Old Clock, an 8 out of 10.